Yes, let those notifications go out. Oh my goodness, y'all. Yeah, I had to take care of a few things today, so I did not get a chance to pull my face out of the jar and all that. But you know what? This is CHA's Truth Seeker podcast after all. So let's do it the traditional podcast style, shall we? Yes. All right, live right here on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance. Oh my goodness. I'm going to give it a few minutes for those notifications to go out because I get to tell you all today where we are. And I'm going to talk about how dreams do come true. I don't care how long it takes. It's one of them lessons that we've learned from God. That things will take however long they got to take. But we go through trials and tribulations all the time. And so even when we do get where we dream of being, we're still going to go through some trials and tribulations because, well, let's face it. I mean, we have more to learn. This is a journey in God's reality, in the spiritual awakening. And so we got to stay aware, right? Yeah. And then not allow those trials and tribulations to make us forget our dreams. So I'm going to bring all of it together for you all here about how my biological dad played a big role, how God spoke through him to remind me I was not meant to live in Florida. I was not meant to live there. I was meant to stay there long enough to heal, to live. Okay? And that being said, I was just doing a quick sound check, but I was not meant to live in Florida. Never. No, that's not where my heart was. I only went to Florida to get confirmation in the physical about the Jezebel case study. I started to notice within the first 3 to 4 months that she was not serious about healing from trauma. And so yours truly had to do what we always need to do when we come across somebody as a narcissist, and we've got to play the fool to let the fool think they're fooling us. So I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker Podcast. Yeah, the Truth Seeker Podcast right here on CHA's YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequencies for healthier living. And I'm going to get to talk to y'all about how dreams do come true. Do not lose hope and faith, okay, y'all? And do not forget what you love. The devil always tries to separate us from what we love. The devil always wants to keep us away from our heart's desire because he knows that when our heart's desires are granted, not only are we going to have additional peace on the inside, when God grants our heart's desires, those are part of our destiny. When Jesus says in Matthew 6, verse 21, that where our treasure is, there will be your heart also. You know, that treasure, you all, it contains a lot of the inheritances from God. That treasure, Matthew 6, verse 21, that treasure, where it is, there will be your heart. Also, where's your heart? Your dreams, the visions from God. When I was a truck driver, yes, yours truly was a truck driver for 5.5 years. I drove cross country with the ex-angry narcissist husband. And during that season of my life, there was a place in Texas that stole my heart. A place in Texas that stole my heart. I honestly, the only thing I remember at that time was that I felt peace there. I recognized it, but I didn't understand what that meant at the time. And so we're looking at the time of this recording. That's been 15 plus years ago. That's a long time. 15 plus years ago. When I was a truck driver, there was a place in Texas that stole my heart. All I remember was the feeling of peace. And so I dreamed of living in that place in Texas. And I originally thought that, you know what, I can retire there. I said, I'm going to retire to Laredo, Texas. That's what I was going to do. I said, I'm going to retire. That was my dream. But see, then when God gave me the ministry, I became a trauma specialist. I answered the call to get up here and minister to you all and help you overcome the trauma from narcissistic abuse and pass along God's wisdom with basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. Once that happened, and we launched the website in 2021, and then God delivered me from the last toxic workplace, and I said, you know what? I said, why do I have to wait until I retire to move to Laredo, Texas? I don't have to wait till I retire. I got the ministry up and running now. I said, we're going to build this. I said, it's my dream. Dreams do come true. And then all that crazy making and all that. Okay, y'all, thank you for chiming in. We're doing very well. Thank you. Okay, thank you for asking. I hope y'all are doing well as well. But I want to tell y'all, I got to give you this backstory that dreams do come true no matter how long it takes, because that was over 15 years ago when Laredo, Texas stole my heart. And so where your heart is, right? That's where your treasure is. And that treasure, it contains everything from God. And so all crazy making that was taking place, okay, crazy making that was taking place there in the end of 2022 into 2023 into 2024, all kinds of crazy making taking place, persecutions. Of course, Jesus said we are going to be persecuted for his name's sake. And so it's not us. Y'all got to remember that. It ain't the flesh and blood. Okay? It's Jesus. It's that Jesus spirit in us. That Christ consciousness. That's what they're persecuting. We live in a world that hates Jesus. Never forget that. It tried to give off the appearance that it loved Jesus, but we're learning real quick that there's a lot of evildoers out here that are just pretending. They don't even know who Jesus is. That's why Jesus said that there's going to be those that try to come to him, and he's going to be like, God will be like, I don't know you. Jesus is going to tell him, I don't know you. But, chosen one. Dreams do come true for chosen one. That's the point right there. There's the truth. Truth seeker. Dreams come true for chosen one. So when, as I was alluding to in the beginning, when I had to turn that Jezebel into a case study, because like I said, in the first 3 to 4 months of her booking session, I started to notice she was not serious about healing. She was not serious about healing. And with the Jezebel who gave birth to me passing away, and then her booking session, I was doing a case study while at the same time there was a bunch of crazy making with the Jezebel who gave birth to me passing away. There was a whole bunch of crazy making going on. But I still knew in the back of my mind, I said, we're going to get to Laredo, Texas. I said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I said, that's my dream. That's where my heart is. God picked it out for me many years ago. And like I said, all I remember was the peace that I felt. I could not explain it then. I can now. because it had to do with sea levels and elevation. Okay, it had to do with sea levels and the physical, but the spiritual, because there's a lot of high vibes. I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm noticing it now. It doesn't mean that, oh no, there's narcissism out here. There's still the game of narcissism on the world stage. I'm just trying to tell y'all, yeah, because right now, that's where I'm at now. Okay? Yes, I'm able to tell y'all that. We got a P.O. box. Okay, we got a P.O. box on the website for y'all. New contact information. Okay, so in Laredo, Texas. The devil was fighting us like hell, y'all. The devil was trying to keep yours truly from getting to Laredo, Texas. But here we are, baby. Dreams do come true. Okay, so Lainey Wilson's song, Somewhere Over Laredo. Okay, I don't know, but I can look it up. I can look it up. But I want to tell y'all, but I had to go to a place in Florida, southern Florida, to be more specific. I had to go to Fort Lauderdale to get confirmation that the narcissist was, in fact, what I was suspecting in the spiritual, because virtually it was getting a little bit challenging. Because she had a different kind of Cheshire cat grin. And so I was like, okay, her Cheshire cat grin is it's different. But I was like, why does it look like a Cheshire cat? Because that's what it was. And so it didn't take me long to start realizing when I got to her place, I knew I wasn't going to be there long. I did not expect her to launch a physical assault and wake up in the hospital the next morning. That I did not plan on. Of course not. But God had our escape route already planned out. So he had it all planned out. And so we got ourselves a hotel about good 5 hours or more up the way, a city right outside of Orlando called Kissimmee. And so we were there for a couple of years just to do some healing and case study work. I had to learn more about how radio frequency is being rigged up in the matrix to try and get mind control of people. And so now, and then now I understand where I'm at now, okay, that the air quality is very different. And so it was the humidity there in Florida. See, the Jezebel case study was hoping to trap me in Florida with all that humidity, with all that moisture in the air, because the one thing I have learned about that radio frequency, if you've got more radio frequency in an environment than it can handle, it's going to get hot. It's going to get stuffy because radio frequency puts out a lot of heat. Think about the sunshine, okay? I have looked up at the sun and I have seen the same color sine waves, S-I-N-E. I have seen the same color sine waves around that sun that I have seen when it comes to Wi-Fi coming together sine waves. I've seen it. Not only have I felt it, but I've seen it. And they're the colors of the rainbow. So there you go. And so I've seen that. So it's not a coincidence. And the sun puts out what? Heat. Well, when you have moisture in the air, that humidity, what does moisture in the air do? It depletes the oxygen level. It sucks some of the oxygen out of the air. And so the Jezebel case study knew exactly what she was trying to do. She was trying to get us dependent on man, dependent on the big H, dependent on all that, instead of being dependent on God. And the devil was fighting yours truly like hell the whole way here to Laredo. Because I looked into some stuff and I was like, okay, all right. I said, here's what I thought we were going to do in Florida. I thought I was going to get me a camper and we're going to set up on a campground. And I was like, okay, we can handle that. I said, we can do that for now. We can do that. So I looked into it and it did not work out. And it's because of a debt consolidation thing that I have going on. It's not a bad thing. It's just, some creditors are like that. Finance people or whatever, they're a little leery. They don't know that about me. They don't know that I am making payment, just not directly to the credit card company. I'm paying a third party to handle it on my behalf. They don't know that, but I am making a payment. Well, all they see is the activity, the credit history there. And that's all it was. I said, you know what? But that's a blessing in disguise because God showed me my refrigerator that I will be having one day. But it's going to be here in Laredo, not there. Now, as far as the camper thing, no. God got something else planned. I will tell you that. Because that did not go through, and that's a blessing in disguise. Because I would have had to pay lot rent. I would have had to do all that, which was no big deal. I could have handled it. But that did not go through because that was not where I was supposed to be. So when I called my dad to see if he could help if I needed it, he reminded me of that. God spoke through him and said, why Florida? Like, why do you have to stay in Florida? And I realized something. No, I don't. Because God had us packing lighter and lighter to get as much as we can in the car that we need to travel with. And he said, take them business trips. He said, I need you to go in the business trip season. And that's what we did. And so we're still kind of in business trip season. But now we're exploring the area. And we have a whole, God gave us a whole different vision on the way here. Okay? And on the way here to Laredo, Texas, God gave us a whole different vision. A whole different vision. And I said, oh, I see now. I see. And I got the ideas that I needed when I was shopping around for campers. What I did is I got more ideas for the decor for something else. They ain't going to be one of them. Not to my knowledge. God gave us another vision, a different one. And so now he has us exploring the area. And so not only that, but I said, okay, so here we are. And I want to thank all y'all for sowing your seeds into this ministry. Because chosen ones, when we come together like this is how it happens. And even though I'm 4 years past when I wanted to move to Laredo, Texas, we still made it. Dreams do come true. So I sent my dad a text a little bit ago before I got on here. I sent him a text and I let him know that I'm finally where I've dreamed of living. You know, it started as me thinking I was going to retire here, but guess what? We're building a ministry. There ain't no retirement for me. No, we ain't going to retire. There ain't no reason to. We answered the call. God called us to not just minister, but to be a trauma specialist, a consultant, a coach, and an author, an instructor at CHA Academy. God called us to be all that. Chosen ones wear many hats. So there is no retirement. It's just like when you do more of what you love, then you don't need to take a vacation. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you realize that the dream just came true. So not only, I'm going to tell y'all something. When I got out of that suction cup area in Florida, and I got the first place I stopped over at I called it a little bit of a vacay, but it was just a much needed relaxation. I need to go visit some beaches. So I stayed in Mobile, Alabama. And the beaches I went to, one of them was about both of them were roughly around an hour away. There were two different beaches that I visited. And then on my way to Port Allen, Louisiana, I stopped off at Biloxi Beach in Mississippi. So anyway, we got to explore some things. And that's what it's all about. But when I got to Mobile, Alabama, that's when my dissertation committee really got on the ball. I'm going to tell y'all something. I knew that there was a spiritual hindrance happening while I was in Kissimmee. And then I did stay for 1 week in Orlando in a hotel there for a business trip before leaving Florida altogether. And I'll never forget that, you know, the process of getting this proposal approved to finally get it uploaded to the tax stream and then do the oil presentation that we did yesterday at the time of this recording. We did that yesterday. It got approved right on the spot. Well, after we were done. And so I got the confirmation email today. And so now I've got to go and fill out the first piece of paper for IRB approval. But I still have some homework to finish. I've been working on that, y'all. I got some questions I have to come up with. And so we're working on it. I've got my notepad. And so I've got my homework. But it's not a coincidence that when I landed in Mobile, Alabama, getting out of Florida, I was not meant to be there. I was not meant to stay in Florida anymore, any longer than that. Now, will I go back to visit? Sure. Am I going to go back there to probably public speak, get on stage and preach? Yes. Because God already told me. So I will be traveling, and I will be getting up, and I will be public speaking. That's a given. Because I'm a minister. And I am a faith-based public speaker for hire. You can see it on the website. It's in the navigation drop-down menu at cdhrwdrmd.org. Because dreams do come true. You will see faith-based public speaker for hire. And then my speaking fee is a flat fee. If it's local, that's it. But if it's outside, right, I'll go ahead and tell you right here, right now, I got to update that page though too. But for public speaking outside of Laredo, Texas, we're going to have to negotiate travel costs. And we can do that via email. And so I know that we'll be doing that. And we'll be traveling for that. Absolutely. It's already done. It's just a matter of patience. Patience. Because we got, y'all, those of you who have been with me since the beginning, you have seen not only the transformation, but you have watched us push through and keep our hand on the plow. Luke 9 verse 62. No man who putteth his hand on the plow and looketh back is fit for the kingdom of God. This is why when I got on the highway to leave Florida and come here and get to where we're supposed to be in Texas, where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. Where's my heart? My heart was in Laredo, Texas. It wasn't in Florida. So God said, that's it. It's time to get there. He said, I need you there now. I said, okay. And so we've been keeping it forward, keeping it moving, not looking back. I know that there's some things I've got to do, like update addresses and make the transition and all of that. But he said, I just need you to get there. He had to uproot me and replant me where not only I want to be, but where he needs me to be. You got to remember that align. There comes a time in our lives when God will put us where we want to be and where he needs us to be because we are in alignment with him. When you are in alignment with God, you have that covenant with God. Your dreams will come true no matter how long it takes. No matter how long it takes. And for those of you just now joining, yours truly is no longer living in Florida. We were never meant to stay there. We only went there to confirm the case study, and then we had to recover from the physical assault enough to get the heck out of there and get where we're supposed to be. We're now in Laredo, Texas. And I have to tell you, something else I saw in Houston on my way, y'all. Yes, right there. Somewhere, I think it's like somewhere around there in Houston, Texas, on the highway. I saw it. I think Lakeview. I think that's what it is. Lakeview Church or something like that. It's real big, and on the sign, guess what I call it? I said, "Oh my gosh, there it is." Yep. Joel Osteen and his wife church. I said, "Well, there it is." Okay. Yeah, Osteen, I think. Yeah, if I am incorrect about it being the same who we're thinking, then I'll stand corrected. But that's what I saw on the sign. I said, "Oh well, then there you go." But well, I know those of us, we're not big on we're not trying to be no mega church, y'all. We are a ministry just helping people overcome. Yeah, the Osteen mega church. Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. But I saw it. I thought that was interesting. I said, okay, well, there it is. But anyway, on my way here, of course, I've seen a lot of things, but the whole point is that God finally got us here. That's why I want to tell y'all that it doesn't matter. You might be dreaming of relocating to this place that you fell in love with 15 plus years ago, like I did when I was a truck driver. Okay? When I was a truck driver, I don't, like I said, I'm Laredo, Texas. That's where I said that's where I want to be. And so that was my dream. Of course, I originally thought retirement, but now that I know we don't retire when you have a ministry, you don't retire. Or you don't need to. When you have answered God's call and you are a public speaker and you are a motivator and your area of expertise, okay, is very much needed on this planet, there is no retirement. So I said, okay, then I don't need to wait till I retire. I can go. And sure, I could have turned the Jezebel Case Studies invitation to stay with her. I could have turned it down. But then I would never have gotten to know my autonomic nervous system on a very intimate level to bring it to you all. You got to remember that. Okay? Right. Thank you, Jan. We're very aware of that. Church with a very expensive carpet, I know. But we're not engaging in celebrity gossip or anything, y'all. Come on. Okay, we know what that's all about. We know what it is. Okay. But no gossiping. Okay? No gossiping allowed. Gossiping is a sin. So I want to thank y'all for hitting that thumbs up. I appreciate it. All right? So that our fellow warriors can get this motivation, this truth. Dreams do come true. Dreams do come true. And God, well, everything is at God's appointed time. But he said he needed to get us physically healed enough to where we could make this trip. And it wasn't going to have any kind of like major setbacks for us sitting for extended periods of time. Because when I left Channelview, right outside of Houston, when I left there that morning to get here, yeah, I stopped one time. Well, actually, okay. Well, I stopped one time in the middle of the trip to fill the gas tank up, use the bathroom, and get something to eat. And then I stopped when I got to Laredo and filled the gas tank back up, made my hotel reservation, and then hightailed it to this hotel. Yeah, see, we've learned don't book them 2 or 3 days in advance. Because if you give the devil a heads up, they got time to try and rig some stuff up in the room. I learned that. When I left Florida on my way here, I learned that. I said, he said, I heard God say, he said, don't book them rooms 2 or 3 days in advance. He said, you wait till you get there. Pull up that phone, log into your choice thingy, and you can book a room right then, and then 15, 20 minutes, there you are, you there. You ain't giving the devil enough time to know where you're going to be. That's the thing. You got to not allow the devil the time or the space to rig anything up or to try and tamper with something before you get there. When you learn that that's one of his shenanigans. You see, that's the thing. We learned this along the way. That's the truth. Is that we just got to do something lickety-split. That's how God works suddenly sometimes. He said, I need you to stop booking 2 or 3 days in advance. He said, you know you're going to get there. He said, you know the hotel's there. He said, you get there and then you log in to the website and then you book and earn your points. And he said, wait till you get there. Because that way we don't give the devil a heads up. That's what we learned to do. You know how we used to tell the narcissist what we were going to do? We used to divulge our plan. Well, I never thought of it. Me booking a room 2 days in advance was actually giving the devil, the matrix, a heads up of where we're going. Because that's only when the devil knows to try and attack. And when he knows where you're going, when you're going to be there. So if you book a room 2 days in advance, in my case, now this may not be for all of us, but I learned that's what was happening to yours truly. And that's why some of the hotels that I booked, when I booked them, that's why I ran into some of the stuff. Like that Jezebel, that Longstadt attack there in Port Allen, Louisiana, because I booked that one like 3 days in advance. And so that's the lesson I learned from there. He said, don't do that again. So when we left Port Allen, he said, I just want you to drive. He said, I just want you to drive. Because I gave the devil a heads up. And so he said, don't do that no more. Because that charcoal smell there in Mobile, Alabama, they were trying it there too. Because I had booked that one. And so the Jezebel case study, remember, Jezebel passed the baton in the spiritual. So anytime I come across another Jezebel and they see me, they know what the Jezebel case study did. And so they're going to try to attack. And I will tell you that everything that Jezebel in Port Allen, Louisiana, what she tried to do, exactly, it didn't work, obviously, because we still made it to Laredo, Texas. But I know the devil was trying like hell, and I now know why, too. This goes in line with combating radio frequency for healthier living, okay? Because when I got here, one of the first things I noticed was there's no humidity. I remembered that about Laredo, and I think that's a big part of it. And I said, there's something about the air here. It's different. There's no humidity. So what was happening there in Florida and then Louisiana and Alabama and that area was I was still breathing in the humidity. I was still breathing in all that moisture with the salt. So I still wasn't getting adequate oxygen. So, there are a lot of false prophets who are part of the Freemasons, y'all. We know this. We are very aware of it. Okay, there are a lot of false prophets who are part of Freemasonry. Yes. So you would be correct, Chris. And so that's why we realize that when we come across one of those false prophets, now at first we might be like, okay, this could be something for us. And then over time, just like Jan says, read some of that false prophet's books and it realized it wasn't for her. And that's the thing. It's not it's for God's true blue chosen one. Those false prophets with the mega churches, that's false prophecy. They're trying to put on a performance. That's not what true prophets do. Thank you. Yeah, Jesus is the truth, the way, and life. Absolutely. And so Jesus didn't get on stage with all these lights and no. Jesus was humble, low key, and that's how we are. All right, we stay low key. We ain't out here trying with no glitz and glam and trying to impress nobody, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be telling God's truth, spreading the gospel, and then getting up here and keeping each other motivated. So that's why I wanted to get on here and tell y'all that dreams do come true. And you know that saying that goes around says the next tears you're going to cry are going to be tears of joy. Let me tell you, when I sent that text message to my dad, and I said, I'm finally where I have dreamed of living. And I thanked him for reminding me I wasn't meant to stay in Florida. And as I was typing that, those tears of joy, oh yeah, you better believe it, tears of joy. Because I had forgotten that it was a dream. And so that it was like, I didn't even have a topic. That was like just before I got up here to go live. And then I said, what am I going to put? What are we going to talk about? And that's what God said. He said, dreams do come true. Because he just realized that. It's not that I thought they never did. Because throughout our lives, we've had dreams of obtaining this or obtaining that, and it has happened. So it's like we know that. But when you think of something so dear to your heart, and you forget that it's actually your dream too, that it's been a dream of yours to get there, and you finally get there. And I would tell y'all, since getting here, I'm going to tell you right now, when you know it's from God, when you get where he needs you to be, and things go the way they're supposed to, and you don't have to stop and think about whether you are going according to plan because you can feel it. I did. I said, wait a minute. Because just today, there is an on-site laundry thingy for guests here at the hotel. But I told myself when that padding got stolen out of my bikini top at the last hotel when I was doing laundry at the hotel. I said, I ain't going to do that no more. The Lord said, no, you don't have to. Because what happened was the second day here, as I was coming back from the store, the way that the roads are set up here, frontage roads, service roads, things like that. I remember that. And God reintroduced, that's why he had me stay in Mobile, Alabama for a week. He reintroduced me to the service roads and frontage roads because that's how it is there too. And I remember that when the hotel I stayed at there in Mobile, Alabama was off of one of them service roads. I said, oh, because I knew we were coming here. I just couldn't tell y'all yet. I said, I knew we were coming here. And God said, yeah, remember those frontage roads. Remember those service roads. I said, oh, that's right. I said, because that's how Texas is. And so it was like Mobile, Alabama was just a reintroduction to that road system. And he said, I just need you to get used to it. I need to reintroduce you to it. See, that's how God works. I said, that's right. I said, oh my gosh, okay. So that way when I got here, I was already prepared. God prepared me for that. So that when I was on my way back to this hotel, my second day from coming back from the store, exploring and things like that, and I had to go, I went one more road down. Then instead of going back up on the actual frontage road, I went one more block over and come down that road coming in the back way. And lo and behold, God does this. And I happened to look over to the right, just not even, I can walk. And I did today to go do laundry. There's a little laundry mat right on the corner, a couple blocks up. Yeah, a couple blocks up. And so I was like, oh. So when I came back from the post office and I checked out a couple of places on the way, I decided, okay, let's do that. Let's go ahead and get the laundry dropped off. I said, now I can take the car back to the hotel. I sure did. I came in, got me a little quick bite to eat, a snack, my protein shake, and then we walked on over there to put the clothes in the dryer, and then we just took another exploration walk. Just kind of, it's one thing to be driving down the road and see these things, but it's another to get and walk it and read the signs. And yes, yours surely is still learning Spanish, and I'm going to get there, but it's just, taking it all in, exploring the area. And it's a big city, okay, y'all? Laredo ain't small. Okay? It's a pretty big city in Texas, okay? And so, and Chris, to answer you, where I'm at here, there is no humidity. Okay? There is no humidity. Big difference. Okay? And that's another reason why I believe, because I remembered that because when you get to Texas, and then I remember New Mexico and Arizona from driving truck, and I remember even in parts of California, the air is relatively dry. It's just where there's no moisture in the air, they use chemicals and other things to try and make up for the fact that there's no charcoal smell in the air here. Not to the extent that it was in Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana. And probably Mississippi, but I didn't stay over there. I just stopped off at Biloxi Beach. And then hightailed it on out of there. So, yes, thank you, Jen. You do the same and enjoy your meeting. And yes, I'm grateful you got a chance to chat as well. And I know that you'll catch more on the replay. We will see you after a while. Yes, blessing to you as well. And there, right, the hot climates without the humidity, and I think I know why. Okay, because if you are breathing in the humidity, you are also breathing in salt. Like I was talking about earlier, we've learned that about radio frequency. In excess, it makes an environment very stuffy. And so if it's humid outside, but y'all got to remember something though. They manipulate the weather out there. So as they do that, I know that when it says, my car temperature gauge might say it's 81, but then I know automatically when I feel the wind, I say, no, that's 61. I said, there's a 20-degree difference. Remember, 80% deception, 20% legit. Okay, same concept applied to the temperature. There's a 20-degree difference. There's always a 20 degree difference. They're going to tell you that it's 80 outside. When you go inside the store, you see the thermometer set on 60. Well, that means that the thermometer is actually on 40. I know, let that sink in. That's how cold it is. But if your autonomic nervous system is numbed and you are extremely, if you are just basically being in a fever-induced state and your ANS is numbed, you ain't going to notice that. But I will tell you, I noticed it. Oh yeah, every time I go inside someplace that has air conditioning blasting, huge difference. I see that what that does, it tricks you, because then you go back outside, you go, whoa, man, it's not hot. It's warm. The sun can be hot, yes, but it's not hot out there at all because there's no humidity in the air. It's nice. Okay? So, but y'all got to remember though, that don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams, because the devil's going to try like hell to keep you from achieving your dream. He's going to try like hell to keep you from getting where you want to be, or where God needs you to be. But you can't stop God. See, it's like when God jumped in and said, why Florida? You ain't got to stay there. So he's like, I need to get you out of there. He said, it's time to leave. He said, there's nothing else that we need to be doing in Florida right now. The next time we go to Florida, it's going to be for business. That's it. It's going to be for business. That's what it's all about. I'm going to be public speaking. Oh, yeah. And God showed me where, too. When I first landed in Kissimmee, Florida, he showed me right away where. So I know the hotel, I know the convention center, I know exactly where it's going to be. I don't know when, but I know it's going to be there. That's how God works, y'all. And not only that, and that's why we got to have patience, right? What we talked about yesterday, that patience pays off. And so I was patient, being patient and just waiting. And the time came for us to see, why am I staying here? I don't have to stay in Florida now. I can drive it's time to take more business trips, but time to get out of Florida. And so that's what we did. And so, all right, we got some and more going on here. So got to Spain and Malacca. And it was about 100 degrees, but tolerable. Okay, well, right, because there was no humidity. Okay, that means it was probably actually 80 degrees, not 100. And running the AC all the time is bad. Yeah, the body needs to adjust naturally to changes in temperature. You're absolutely correct. See, the devil in the matrix does not want your body to adapt naturally to changes in temperature, because it wants to confuse the ANS and wants to keep tricking you into thinking that it's hotter or colder than it actually is. That's what it's all about, because the body needs to adapt naturally. It prefers the natural route. Why do you think your body responds very well when you are not inside a place that is blasting with AC all day long? And well, you can say that it's too easy to get into a comfort zone with the AC on. Well, yeah, and that would be another trick of the devil. He knows that if you have the AC running and it gets too comfortable, that leads to comfort zone, living in a comfort zone. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. That's it. The devil wants to create that dependency on all things external, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, because you get dependent on the AC each time you start to sweat. You don't realize that your sweat is your body's natural air conditioner, and you go forget, and you're gonna go, oh man, because you're gonna get tricked into thinking that it's uncomfortable to sweat. It's not. It's not. Because if you're paying attention and you're sweating and you're getting them toxins out, and you realize you start feeling better, or you should. You should be feeling better. The devil don't want that. He don't want people to be healthy. Remember that. Okay, so you don't have to AC in the UK home, because it's never hot long enough Well, see, it's never hot long enough to run one. Okay. Well, that's actually a blessing in disguise then. Mm-hmm. I would have to say that the same concept goes for a heater too. I think maybe it depends on how cold it actually gets outside. Because we're learning about the 20-degree difference of what it actually is. If it says that it's 100 on the thermometer, I know automatically, oh, it's only 80. There's a 20-degree difference. Right, because they want you, when your body, on the inside, if your body's too hot, part of that radio frequency poisoning, if your body's too hot on the inside, you wouldn't know that. A ceiling fan for cooling. You know what? I would say that's acceptable. Yeah, I would think a fan, any kind of fan, a ceiling fan or even a stand-up fan, that if you need that, if you need it, sure. Nothing wrong with that. I still have 3 little small fan. Not real big at all, but small one for like the desktop. So I still have those. And so you use them as needed if you need like some air circulation. Sure. Absolutely. You definitely want. That's one of the tips, y'all, I have for combating radio frequency is air circulation. So yes, if you've got a fan, ceiling fan, or even it's a regular fan, absolutely. Yeah, and for cooling off, sure. I prefer to go that route than an air conditioner, to be honest with you. I prefer to go that route. Use a good old-fashioned fan. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot less expensive to maintain a fan, huh? So y'all got to think about stuff like that, too. Ways you keep the devil out of your finances. Right, no air conditioner if you can help it. Yeah, I don't even run the AC in my car. Once I learned that I don't need it, I turned that sucker off. I said, why am I running the AC in the car? Because in Florida, it took forever for it to get cold in the first place. I said, what the heck? I said, whatever, let's get used to this. And so it didn't take me long at all. And I also realized by doing that, turning the air conditioner off in the car, I wasn't bringing in all that crap, the chemical from the outside and the engine. Can you imagine? I was like, oh my gosh, I've been breathing that stuff in. Oh man, I'm breathing that stuff in the car. Shoot. And so I opened up the sunroof. I was just fresh air. I don't need the AC. So breaking the dependency on that. When we break dependencies on external validation, then we learn later on breaking trauma bonds, but breaking dependencies on external things like that, like the AC and the heat and stuff like that. No, see, our body, that's something else. The Jezebel case study didn't realize another blessing in disguise when we got to learn about our autonomic nervous system and that God created this biological body so strategically to do things on its own that we don't need all the external help with. You know what I'm saying? We don't need the external help with certain things that the body can naturally do if we just let it. You know what I'm saying? We just have to let the body do what it needs to do naturally and not, remember, I'm big on that. I teach that a lot for a reason. I have not said this in a while, so I got to bring it back. Holy Spirit said, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. We cannot force what is going to happen naturally. And see, that's what the devil wants to trick people into doing. Here's your and more. The devil wants to trick people into forcing things that can happen and do happen naturally by having them dependent on things external. Because God is a spirit on the inside. So we're supposed to be dependent internally, not externally. Remember how I tell y'all, I'm going to bring it back. Got to focus on the internal and the external will follow. Focus on the internal and the external will follow. Where do you think that comes from? Breaking the dependency on external things. Realizing that everything we need, because if everything we need is on the inside of us from God, why are we looking outside for what's already in us? Answer that, if you can. Why? Well, because the matrix and the devil tricks a lot of people into doing that. Wants you to keep looking outside of yourself. Because within yourself is the God Spirit, is the creativity, is everything you need to do God's perfect will is on the inside. The devil don't want you to see that. The devil wants you to keep looking for it on the outside. He wants you to keep trying to, he wants you to think you got a void. Chosen ones don't have a void on the inside. It's just we have to tap into. So that's the thing. The devil don't want you to tap into. This is the truth. The devil don't want you to tap into that bag that's on the inside from God. The devil don't want you to tap into that. Because he knows once you start to tap into that, that you're going to get your inheritances. That your dreams are going to come true. Because that's where they at. That's another reason why I got to have that verse, Matthew 6, verse 21 on the website. And it's big for this ministry. Because it's so true. So where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. So when you realize that your heart, well, where's it at? That's where your treasure's going to be. And inside that treasure, like I said in the very beginning, inside that treasure is everything from God. Everything. God said, I'm going to get you where your heart is. It's time. He said it's time because we had to do a lot of mindset changes. You got to do a lot of mindset changes before God will do that. He said, I got to get your subconscious mind in the right place. Meaning, I had to get my subconscious mind into the present. He said, I know you've got that future thing. I got vision. Well, yeah, we got a lot of them. He said, I know. He said, but we ain't got to try to do it all in one day either. He said, we just need to make sure that subconscious mind is in the present. Because as soon as that happens, we're like, all right, now let's get to Laredo, Texas. And so now, being able to keep the subconscious mind in the present, as we explore and we start to, because God's like, I just gave you the keys to your treasure. I want you all to drop it in the comment below. Say, I got the keys. Keys. I got the keys. Even in the comments on the replay, say, I got the keys. God said, I gave you the keys to your treasure. Because he'll give us the keys to our treasure before we even get to it. Because he knows we're going to keep it safe. And we're talking spiritual, y'all. Spiritual keys. He said, I gave you the keys. And so now, I got the spiritual keys. I get to unpack that treasure. See, that's the other reason why the devil was fighting yours truly so hard. Trying to keep me from getting here. Because he knew God gave me the keys. He knew that God gave me the keys. How did he know that God gave me the keys? Because I was trucking it out west. And the devil knew. The devil knew when I voiced it. And I remember realizing I ain't got to wait till retirement. It was the Jezebel that gave birth to me and one of her sisters that was sitting there. And they were like, well, where would you move to? And I said, you know what? I thought I was going to retire in Laredo, Texas. But no, I said, I can move there. And see, because I verbally announced it, so the devil knew. But I didn't have the spiritual keys yet. So while I was in Kissimmee, Florida, that's when God gave me the spiritual keys. I just didn't know that I was supposed to be gearing up during that season to go ahead and get here to Laredo. Until I tried to, let's just say, set up life, okay, if you will, there in Kissimmee. I thought, okay, we can get started here and then we'll get to Laredo later. That's when God's like, wrong. Yeah. And so it was a good thing that I had to talk to my biological dad that day. And he had to remind me. He had to remind me where my heart was. Because I wasn't even thinking of that. And so now, he said, okay. He said, now, you got the spiritual key. Now it's time to go unlock your treasure. But you got to get where your heart is to get that treasure. So now we get to do it. So everywhere we go to explore, we are unlocking a little bit of that treasure each day. When we got the P.O. Box address, that was one lock. We've been exploring parks. That's another lock. Unlocked. I'm giving this to y'all to help you put it in perspective when God's talking about treasure. When I got the P.O. box address, that was one lock that we unlocked. I've been exploring parks to walk in nature. I found a lake that has a park, state park. Then I did some more digging and researched. Okay, that's another lock, unlocked places that I can go. I found another park, right? Another public park. Another lock unlocked. I found one of the grocery stores that when I used to come here for a 34-hour restart, that means as a trucker, that means we had to reset our log books. We're only allowed so many hours in the week to drive. So we had to take a 34-hour restart to wipe the slate clean. And I used to make it. We had, and Schneider is still here in Laredo. I think they're under a different name now, but they're still here. When we were company drivers for Schneider, and I used to map it out to where we would take our restarts here in Laredo, Texas, at the drop yard. And so whenever we stayed at the drop yard, if the company car was available, I remember I borrowed the company car one time, and I went to the grocery chain, HEB. And so I remembered that. And I said, I remember that there was some dried fruit and some other items, specialty food items that I used to get. And so I was like, all right. So I said, I need to go ahead and create me one of them rewards accounts with the HEB grocery store. And so we did that. That's another lock unlocked. You see, that's how it works. And then as I see signs, things for sale, that for sale, that for lease or sale by owner, I'm taking out my phone and I'm taking pictures. That's another lock unlocked. Woo! Y'all feel me? Y'all feel me? That's another lock. We are unlocking that treasure because we're where our heart is. And so each time we go and we get a foothold, if you will, we are unlocking another. That's when we got the spiritual keys now. We're putting them in action. We're unlocking the treasure. That's what it looks like. See, when you're able to look at things like that, you're like, whoa, wow, that really changes your perspective. Because the world wants you to think treasure, this big treasure chest. Oh, money's involved, of course. Because the more that we do this, the more peace we're experiencing. And the more, well, let's just say the more we set up life, the more locks that we unlock, the more God restores each and every time. And I can feel it. I can feel the prospering on the inside. And so at the same time with all of that, part of that treasure is our dissertation for school. And so that's been unlocked. We got the oral presentation done. Right, we got that approved. We're moving forward. That's another lock unlocked, you all. That one was getting unlocked while we were making the trip because it's online. But once we got here, it finally happened. And we made it. So we start unlocking that treasure. One lock at a time. And so I want to give y'all that to understand that your dreams do come true. And you'll know it. You'll feel it. Because I'm going to tell you, when we got here. Oh, and the devil wanted you. I had to remind myself, though, the first couple of days here were thunderstorms in the afternoon. And so when I went to one park, that I discovered one park, unlocking that key, I got rained on. But lucky, I had my rain bonnet. Okay? So I don't mind as long as my ears, as long as I keep them dry. I don't care about my clothes. I was like, whatever, I got dry clothes in the room. I got to get back to that car. But it was thunderstorming. It was nice and sunshiny when I got there. But I said, I see what the devil's trying to do. I said, the devil's trying to make me think that this was not a good idea. Oh, no. I said, we're going to wait this out. I said, but I had to remind myself, okay, that, well, yes, because I am faceless, you all. It's supposed, you should see my profile picture. Okay? Yes. Okay? It is a profile picture and we are faceless. So yes, you're going to see the screen that way. Yeah. I figured out, because if I don't have a nice picture for y'all, you're welcome. If I don't have a nice picture for y'all, I at least have my profile picture. Turn my camera off, and that's what y'all get. Because unless you want to stare at one of the plain gray hotel walls, I can give you that too. But no, we're faceless today. Because we took care of some stuff, and then I said I had to get on here and give y'all this dream do come true. And I know some of y'all are going to have to catch it on the replay. Okay, but I just wanted to wrap it up again real quick. I know Rachel, blessing, dear blessing. I'm like, man, yeah, we've been on for about an hour now. Let me remind everybody, just so you know, God willing, that I'm keeping our live broadcast, even though I am now on Central Time in Laredo, Texas. Even though I am on Central Time, I'm keeping the live broadcast on Eastern Time. In other words, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time is the Truth Seeker podcast on Tuesday. Okay, God willing, which means I get up here at 1:30. But it's still 2:30 Eastern Time. So wherever you are, which that means, right, 2:30, so that would mean 11, 12, 1, 2. So 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Okay, so that way you know. Okay, so you're Central Time as well, so then it would be 1:30. Okay then, so let's clear that up. No, don't apologize. Y'all chime in when you can, because I know you're going to catch it on the replay. Okay, but I want to go ahead and get this cleared up for all of us, so that we know that we have different. So when I say our live broadcast time, because it's on the website, they are set in Eastern Time. So that tells me, okay, I know, because I'm on Central Time, I'm going to get up here at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Central Time, so it will still be 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So those of you who are on the Central Time zone, it's Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., okay? God willing, we get up here on this channel live with the Truth Seeker podcast, okay? And then same thing for Motivational Mondays, all right? Central Time, that's 3 p.m., okay, and it's 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so that means 1 p.m. Pacific Time. So when you see that our podcast and live streams are on Eastern Time, then then you want to make sure you know, that means, she's going to go live at 2 p.m. on Sunday with the Let's Just Chat. She's going to go live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That means she's going to be up here 1 p.m. Central Time. And 11 a.m. Pacific Time. And then if you're in the UK, it's 5 hours. So if it's 4 p.m. on Monday, I believe it's still 5 hours. Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But okay, so okay. Y'all don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Okay, don't say nothing. All right, we got the snake out of here. Okay, we got the snake out of here. Yes, so 1 p.m. Central Time. No, for the Motivational Monday, that would be 3 p.m. Central Time on Monday. So let's cover this real quick. Saturday Bible study. Okay, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 3 p.m. Central Time. And 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And then I know in the UK that would be, like, if it's 4 p.m. Eastern Time, that's roughly around 9 p.m. UK time, depending on where you're at. And then, of course, in Australia, I know that's going to be either the next morning or the next night, depending on the time zone. So 5 hours. So it's in the UK. You only have a single time zone. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to make sure we had that clear. And then those who are in the United States, we have 3 different time zones. So on Eastern Time, when we go live on Saturday Bible studies, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 3 p.m. Central Time. And then that's going to be 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Okay? And correct, Chris, thank you. And so on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, that's going to be 1 p.m. Central Time, and then 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Then Monday is going to be just like Saturday, Monday Motivational, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. 3 p.m. Central Time, and that would be 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And then Tuesdays, the Truth Seeker podcast, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1:30 p.m. Central Time and 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. So I'm gonna do everybody a favor now too. I'm gonna make myself a note here. I'm gonna put that on the website. That way y'all have it. It's clear, because I know it's a lot, and if you're not thinking, because when we live in different time zones, we don't necessarily think about that. But I'm gonna put time zone update on website, because I updated my store. My website, I did that today when I put the new P.O. box up there. Y'all go to the contact information on the website, okay, at cdhrwdrmd.org. And if you go down to the footer, for right now, I thought that it was available without having to click on anything, but I don't know where it went. But I've got the Laredo P.O. box address on there now too, and so you'll find both business ministry emails and also the business phone number that you can text. And I always tell y'all, if you've got something, you need to text first. I don't have that thing glued to my hip, so yeah. And then of course booking sessions, things like that. That's different. We work the time zones out via email, but time zones for the live streams on the website, and then I will share that again with you all. To keep everybody straight, all right? So, yes, 3 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, 1 p.m. and Central Time. Yes, you got it, Rachel. There you go. All right. Yeah. And so that's why I said I'm going to keep our live broadcast time on the Eastern Time zone, because that does work very well for all of us, and including those of you in the UK and Australia and things like that. It seems to be working great. You are able to attend these live streams when we get up here, because we do those 4 days are pretty much set in stone, and if it's not right on the dot, it's going to be within a 10-minute or maybe sometimes a 15-minute window. If I'm going to be late, I'll let y'all know in the YouTube community tab, because that has happened. Now, if I'm going to take a live stream break,